anyone looking at the chart, even if you're using price action or using indicators, you can tell that the trend on the 1 hour is to the upside, right? So what do I expect AUD/USD to do short term? I'm seeing a retracement back into my pullback or my trend. So these three levels, these three indicators I see here are levels of pullback that I expect price to trade back into before it continues the bullish move. All right, so you can mark that out. The first level being 0.66238. That's our first pullback level. If price holds around that level, we're going to continue buying AUD/USD. If it breaks below it, the next level that it is going to is 0.65829. If it breaks below this level as well, then the final level, which would serve as a support, which is now our trend, is around 0.65330. So please take note of these levels which we have marked out. I'm calling them out for those of us who are not familiar with the all-weather indicators and can't understand what it's doing. Take note of the levels I just called out and wait for price to get to those levels. If those levels hold and you see entry patterns for your bullish trend to be continued, by all means, take the trade. For now, I'm looking at reversals on AUD/USD. So we just go straight to my 5-minute time frame and we're going to mark out specific levels here and just wait for price on this particular time frame. So mark out 4 levels. For those of us who've been joining us for a while now, you should already know the levels I'm marking out. The first one being yesterday's high. The second one being yesterday's low. What's the third level, guys? Before yesterday's high. And then the fourth level, I'm just going to have to drag this guy away a bit. So I have my levels marked out. I'm expecting reversals of AUD/USD, right? Okay, so if we're following our entry pattern, this is an entry level for us to even want to catch the reversals. That is, if you're somebody who trades reversals, but I always recommend and advise my students to just go along with the trend. I trade reversals, but it's not generally advisable. So price has given me a reversal entry. It has gone back to retest yesterday's high. 1-minute time frame has also given entries. So the pullback from here to here, the first TP level is going to be right here, which is my day before yesterday's. My yesterday's low actually, which happens to be in confluence with the trend. So I'm looking to sell AUD/USD to this point. If we go back to our 1-hour time frame to see those 3 levels which we marked out, let's see if it's in confluence with what we're looking at here. So look at the level we marked out, which is going to be our first TP area. Do you see how in confluence it is with our momentum, which is the first pullback level which we spoke about, right? So I'm selling AUD/USD and I intend to take profit from this level because price might just find support around here and resume its buy trend. So that's it for AU. For you who is trading along the trend, wait for price to get to these levels, look for specific entry patterns, and then we're going to be buying AUD/USD. For short term, it's a sell. This session, we should be looking at reversals of AUD/USD. Let's look at NZD/USD. Pretty similar price action, pretty similar indicator movement. Price has broken above it. So where do I think NZD/USD is going to buy into? Look at the trend we have on the daily. This is going to eventually drop price to itself, provided this trend is maintained. Right, this is where I see NZD/USD buying into all the way into this trend, and that's a lot of movement. So this guy has already broken above. We should be seeing reversals before the market continues its bullish move, because of course we know the market doesn't just create highs, so it's higher highs and higher lows, right? So we should see a movement back down here before the bullish move is continued. We already have this. Our first pullback level is where? Right here. The second pullback level is around here, and then the third pullback level is right here. So you can mark them out. The first one being 0.60404, and then the second one being 0.59927. And then our third pullback area for NZD/USD will now be 0.59734. So please take note of these levels, which I just called out. and wait for price to get to those levels. Then we'll continue the bullish trend, provided we see our entries. The same thing I did on AU is going to be repeated here. All right, so we marked out 3 levels, the first one being the day before yesterday's low. So looking at the reversal happening from where price currently is to sell back all the way into my first take profit level, which is here. Second take profit level, very, very close. There's almost no difference between our first TP and second TP. Is about what? 5 pips. And then our third take profit. But I rather say second because this one is, I don't see the difference. So our second take profit will not be right here. Right? For us to catch the reversals of NZUSD before the buy trend is resumed. I hope you're taking note of all the levels of marking out. And I hope you're flowing along with this analysis that I'm doing. Regardless of indicators, regardless of price action, the market does the same thing, right? And these indicators basically measure what price action would show to us. That's what the purpose that the indicators serve. They just show you the areas you're looking at without having to look into price action in total. So for USD CAD now, what do we see on USD CAD? 4-hour time frame, you see the curve is starting to go down. If you're looking at price action, we're seeing lower lows, lower highs being formed. Look at this structure to the downside, right? Looking at indicators, price has broken below and gone back to retest. Although it's safe to say right now that USD CAD is in a range based off our indicator pattern. USD CAD is currently in a range, however, a range to the downside. It's in a range to the downside. On the 1-hour time frame, we see clear down move, right? Price has broken below this, going back to retest our momentum, and look at how in sync all of our Keltner channels here are. So they'll drive price back to themselves before the sell move on USD CAD is continued. But the sell move is continued, so buyers on USD CAD is still to the downside. So where is USD CAD going to buy into before it continues its sell move? Our trend. Going to buy back into our trend before the sell move is resumed and the trend is continued. So again, mark out these levels. So this is what I do. Once I do like a top-down analysis, I just go on my 5-minute time frame, mark out these levels, leave them on my chart, and I go about my day. So when price gets to these levels, I then look at the market to see if my entry has been formed on the 1-minute time frame, and then I take the trade. So the first resistance level, which USD CAD faces right here, which is the before yesterday's low. We tap in here and then continue to sell. If this level does not hold, it's going to buy all the way into this trend and then continue to sell. But if this level also doesn't hold, the next level is coming to it here. So basically, these levels we marked here are levels of interest for us to continue selling. And if price gets to those levels, we see break of structures, we see entry patterns being formed. What do? We take our trade. Right now, that's pretty much it for this analysis. We could go down to see, let's see Forex Factory and see the news releases we have coming out today and see how they might impact the markets. Today is Thursday. Now, earlier in the day, we had employment change come out on AUD/USD. Came out higher than expected, which is good for the currency, meaning more bullish moves, right? And then unemployment rates came out lower than expected. Let's open this up and see. So actual less than forecast is good for currency, but this is actually higher than what was forecasted. So this is kind of a red flag. However, we're looking at our employment change way higher than what we forecasted. It was forecasted to be 22.4K, and it came out at a whooping 38.5K. So the bullish move on AUD/USD should be continued, except another news comes out, maybe FOMC. which is coming out on Friday. Let's see. But it's not really high impact. We're going to see how that influences the market. We also have USD unemployment claims coming out by 1:30. So we'll see what that does to the market. However, looking at what has already happened, employment change came out higher than expected. So the bullish move on AUD USD is even stronger. If we decide to look at Finbase to see what the economic theme currently is, let's look at that quickly. Okay, so on this is monthly time frame. Monthly time frame, we see risk on play very clearly. AU and NU are leading. But if we're looking at the weekly, NZD is currently the strongest buying currency, followed by pound and then AUD. So they are kind of mixed. We know there's a dollar dump, a clear dollar dump here, but our risk on play is not really clear now. We want to see NZD, AUD, and CAD right next to each other at the forefront here for us to know that they are the ones fully leading the market on the weekly time frame. But you're looking at the monthly time frame where you can clearly see that we're currently in a risk on. It's clear. AU, NZD is here. USD, JPY at the end, right? CAD is also in the middle, but we prefer for it to be here regardless. We know that our risk on play is very clear on the monthly time frame, financing currencies, and then our safe haven assets are currently being dumped. So this guy is pretty much leading so far. We're going to keep watching the market and playing along with what the market is showing to us. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Let me know if you have any questions. I hope this was helpful. Please let me know if it was helpful to you. I want to see that you have specific levels you're looking at when it comes to AU, NU, and USD CAD. Do you have specific levels you're looking at right now? You should have that. That's the purpose of this analysis. So do you? Yes or no? Let me know in the chat box. All right. Thank you, Mr. Shea. Mr. Shea is like, Mr. Shea is always around for market colors. Well done, sir. We see you. Well done. All right, so this would be the end of my session. As a quick reminder, we have our Traders Bootcamp coming up on the 30th and the 31st of May in Abuja. This event is going to be value packed. I am very, very hyped for it. Very hyped. You should be as well. Keep spreading the word. We have a campaign we're running. So all you have to do is share our flyers on your social media pages, WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, and then send us the number of views that you have. The person who has the highest number of views per day and per week gets a gift. It could be a course, it could be a bot. So many opportunities for you to take advantage of. So ensure you are taking part of that. If you need more details on that, simply send us a WhatsApp message. Our WhatsApp number will be left in the chat. Send us a message and we're going to add you up. All right? That's one. We have a paid session with Mr. Ejimi himself. After the entire free event, if you want to have a one-on-one with Mr. Ejimi where you get to ask your questions directly to him and get responses from him, that option is available. In addition to that, you'd also be getting a bot. Our bots are not exactly, small change. So you'll be getting that almost free, right? Our Dr. Bills GU bot costs $500. Our Truth EA costs $120. There's so many bots you could be winning for paying a very little fee. That is if you're interested in having the close mentorship with Mr. Ejimi during the event, right? If you're interested in that, send us a message as well and we'll share more information on that. So without taking too much of our time, I'm going to call on my colleague shortly to come take us through NAS 100, US 30, and whatever pair you're looking at today. So stick around, stay here. We'll be back in less than 1 minute. Thank you.
guys, welcome back to the London section market color this morning. Thank you for joining. That was a powerful session from Abby. We'll be going straight into today's analysis on USD on indices, which is the US 30, US 100, and probably S&P 500. So like my colleague had earlier mentioned, there'll be a quick session for the boot camp. Right? If you're interested, just send a WhatsApp DM and somebody's going to respond to you from the team. All right, let's go straight into the chat. I believe you can see my screen. Okay. Ima is asking, thanks. I'll be noting on the yen today, I guess. Okay. Sorry about that. Today is for commodity and indices, right? Commodity pair and indices. We're having yen some other time. By tomorrow, we're going to analyze the yen and also dollar denominated pair. Okay, I believe you can see my screen now. I believe you can see my screen now. All right, guys. Let me go on NAS. Let's check NAS this morning. I'm seeing something interesting on NAS. So we had this analysis on NAS. That was earlier this week. We're looking forward to short NAS from this point. Did a little retracement, not retracement, a little movement to the downside, and then took us out from this entry. I didn't have to even enter this trade because there was no entry on the lower time frame. This markup was 150 pips SL, and like I said, it's too wide, it's too big in SL to take the trade. So we didn't even have to, bother ourselves. We had to just go to the lower time frame to look for entries, which unfortunately we didn't have. There wasn't so much of an entry on lower time frame. There wasn't so much of an entry. This would have been the perfect entry, but the SL was quite large. This is 150 pips SL. No, I don't recommend you take that kind of trade, except you are a position trader. Except a position trader. So what am I seeing today on daily time frame for NAS 100? Since this setup failed, what am I looking at? And then there's a clear of this diagonal liquidity. I'm joining them to buy, and by joining them to buy, I'm looking forward to buy from this level. This entire zone that failed. I'm coming to the lower time frame. Since we had the overall bias to be bullish, remember from last week, we've been shouting that US 30 has been bullish. The long-term bias has been bullish. The sell was just a retracement, which we were looking forward to short from this level. If it's going to continue to the downside, then we will now have major structure shifting to bearish. However, the long-term bias has still always remained in a bullish trend. So on daily, I've marked out this entire area that was violated. Then coming to the 1 hour, I'm seeing something very interesting on 1 hour time frame. Let me delete this markup for clarity's sake. The same price. We're seeing an order block in this zone, which is quite interesting. So I'm seeing an order block in this zone, this entire zone here, and also a fair value gap just above that order block. So it's giving me a retracement, a vibe of retracement, right? I'm looking forward to sell to the downside. I'm looking forward to sell to the downside, to buy from the downside here, right? Price is going to sell to this level, and then from there we can look to buy. Can look forward to buy. Look forward to buy from this entire zone. Of course, going to lower time frame to check for a good entry, because even at this level, the SA is quite large. This is my first area of interest Actually, the first is quite just further away from here. You have other blocks here also. The same thing here with a fair value gap just above. The fair value gap just above. Once a setup is being invalidated, especially if it's a box strategy kind of setup, we want to see price retest that area that was violated before it continues to the upside. So what am I looking at from the 1 hour time frame? Just a retracement into this zone, and then price begins to move to the upside, continue the movement to the upside once again. Something like this zone, and then continue to the upside. So here would be a very good place to buy from on the 1 hour time frame. However, if you scale down to the 15-minute time frame, you begin to see other possible areas of re-entry, which is just right here. Because around this other block, there's a fair value gap just above it, which gives us a level of confidence, right? We want to take trades from other blocks with fair value gap because we are sure that price is going to come to fill that inefficiency in price and then continue movement to the upside. So this is what I'm looking at for today on NAS 100. That's the US 100. I'm looking at that. For it to happen, price, you have to see sell off. US unemployment claim is coming out. We hope that will give us a push to the downside for it to continue to the upside, right? So if we should see that happen, I'm going to join the buy and then continue it to the upside. I'm very optimistic about this second point of interest. Should in case price violates this should hold. So probably I'll be splitting the risk into two, taking the first one around this level and the second one around this 18415 spot 5 region. That should give me a very good area to buy from. Also, the 18523 spot 1 region, it's a good area to also buy from. So, but if in case this guy gets invalidated, then we can now consider buying from this level here. That is what I'm looking out for on NASDAQ for today. On US 30, nothing much. It was also violated. The setup we had last on Thursday was also violated. We just saw price, yes, just saw price react a little bit from this entire fair value gap region and then violates it. And ultimately, this guy is going to be cleared today. Hasn't been cleared yet. Which shows one thing: is creating liquidity, is gathering enough liquidity for price to come and violate it, right? So if you look out to the lower time frame, say 4 hours, interesting. The 4 hour time frame, there's something like a small FVG here. The price did not fill. Price didn't get to fill this FVG, which if you look at the left hand side, also another FVG here, although price came to fill it just now with this long candles. So a build-up of liquidity is already above, right? The first area of retest will be this region. Price is testing this region and then go violently to violate all of this liquidity that has been created here. Or we see a retest to the downside around this level, especially on this other block, on this other block here. So we should see that also happen today. Most likely, if we get enough volume in the market, except we get enough volume in the market, this is going to hold, right? It tap into this level and then price continue to the upside, violating all of this, clearing all of this liquidity that has been built over time. Yeah, this is just a good double top, which we know the price is going to violate ultimately in the market. So there's nothing much for today on US 30, nothing really much on US 30 for today on the indices, I mean to say, NAS 100 and US 30. For NAS, we are looking for a retest on this level and then we continue the push to the upside, which is the original direction of the market. However, we have 2 points of interest in this entire setup, in this framework. The first one on the 1 hour, one price to tap on that other block, and then we see price begin to push to the upside. The second one is on the 15 minutes, right? If the momentum is not strong enough, but we see enough retracement to this level on the 15 minutes order block, we're going to enter from this region and then ultimately ride it to the upside as price begin to seek new high in the market. All right, guys, that will be all for today. If you have any question, you can ask in the chat box. You can make a comment in the chat box. If you have any comments, you have any question whatsoever, you can ask question about more specific on US30, on NAS 100, and S&P 500. While we do that, while we ask our question in the chat box, I'd like to inform us also that we're coming to Abuja, like my colleague have earlier mentioned. It's on the 30th and the 31st of this month. Ensure you are there. Ensure you avail yourself. If you need to schedule a leave, book a request for a leave from your workplace, please, you should do that. There's so much to be learned, right? There's so much we're going to bring to your table. You're learning about how bot works, how you understand bots, how to make money from bots, you know, the box strategy itself, strategy section, and even apart from the strategy section, we're bringing clarity to the business of your trading, how to structure your trading, money management, and proper risk management, right? Because 2 persons can take the same trade and they will come out with 2 different outcomes. So you want to learn how to manage your trade and all of those extra important stuff in the market. There are details you don't want to joke with in the market. So ensure you avail yourself on the 30th and the 31st. We're having the first session 9 a.m., 1 p.m. session, and also 3 p.m. session. So prepare and plan. So you're there. Invite as many as you can invite. Invite as many, publicize it as many as you can do that for everybody you know interested, and it's free. It's free. I'm seeing a question here saying, good morning, are we coming with our laptop? Of course, you should be coming with your laptop. I mean, this is trading, right? Except if you have a, say, what's it called now, a tablet that is wide enough, but just come with your laptop. Come with your laptop, come with your extension box also. If for any reason, you know, your laptop battery is not that strong, come with those gadgets. It's a boot camp. It's not just the usual event. It's a boot camp where we're going to digesting everything in the market. Where and when and where. It's happening in Merit House Event Center, Metama, Abuja. You can just do a simple Google search to get the location on your Google map. The Merit House Event Center, Metama, Abuja. When? The 30th and the 31st, right? I've mentioned that. And then we also check our handle on IG, on Facebook. You see the flyers there. You see everything you need to know. And if there's other specific inquiry about even the paid session, you can slide into our DM. The number will be sent in the chat box. You can, you know, get your questions answered, other details being given to you. So in the absence of no question, I'm inviting my boss, our boss, for his commentary this morning. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Lekon. Good morning, Demola. Good morning to the rest of the team, and good morning to everyone on the call. Great analysis. The CPI yesterday has shown a lot of people that trading is a marathon and is not a sprint. Traders who trade recklessly, traders who trade carelessly will not. So even if you want to be taking certain types of trades, you have to make sure that you don't do it on your main account or your major account, right? A definite stop loss would see that in the long term, you won't be consistent in your trading. That being said, let's look at some of the things we said may happen yesterday. I think we spoke on USD CHF and we spoke on CHF JPY. USD CHF and CHF JPY. Because at yesterday we said we expected the dollar pairs USD JPY and USD CHF to go lower. Why? Because Euro USD, AUD USD, all the other pairs that have USD as the quote currency, they had formed higher highs. And we noticed that USD CHF had not yet formed lower lows. So let's zoom in if we can see where we were at yesterday. And you saw the selling pressure. Price didn't necessarily go all the way back to grab the liquidity like we thought it would, but it still grabbed a little bit before it now came lower down about an extra 30, 40 pips. And then also on the USD JPY, so you can see the lower low, the lows that were broken. That's it right there. Yesterday when we were speaking, that's the double bottom there that was grabbed and price came all the way down. Then of course on USD JPY, so that was a sentiment play. How did we know it would go further down? Because we saw that there had been pressure on the dollar, but that pressure on the dollar had not reflected in dollar yen and had not reflected in USD CHF. So same thing we see on USD JPY between yesterday and now, coming all the way. That one even collapsed significantly to the downside. You can see there, collapsed all the way. Then the one we analyzed, CHF JPY, that we say we're expecting CHF JPY to sell off. We said that we're expecting CHF JPY to sell off. If you can remember that analysis, CHF JPY, we're expecting it to sell off. And we also did that markup. Okay, so, but as you can see, the markup is still there. I was of the impression that price would go all the way up, tap into those levels before coming down. It didn't. It left a fair value gap instead, broke through and came down. So one would have been right on direction, but you would have had to find another entry signature. And like I always say, when you have a significant close, or what you call an eye, so zoom in, let me show something. Zoom in there. Okay, yes, all right. When it comes to box pattern failure, we want to see a move that breaks previous fair value gaps. So look at this. That first move to the downside, it all the way down. One would have expected that it would close up, tap into some level of liquidity and come further down. But if you notice, there's a fair value gap 12 p.m. on the 13th. There's a fair value gap 12 p.m. on the 13th. A very tiny fair value gap there. Go all the way down. Sorry, not 12. We'll just go further to the left. There's a fair value gap, very tiny one there. And there is also a low there. So when you see price close with force below other blocks, below fair value gaps, there's a possibility that price may not go back to fill fair value gaps. So look at that low, the base formations, look at the fair value gap. So look at the 14th. Let's mark the low of the 14th. The low of the day, exactly. the lowest point on that 14th, because if price is getting away from you, price is not going back into the fair value gap, and you are certain about that move and you have missed your entry, what are the likely things you can do? So look at this. Would have served as some sort of support. But instead of the support, what do we see price doing? We see heavy consolidation, massive candles. So you know that there was a struggle there. There was a real struggle between the buys and the sells. So once you see all those other blocks failing to hold through them, breaking through them, then you can look at box pattern failure in the reverse. So that would be a shoulder there. Let's see a shoulder. The recent shoulder around that low. Then that would be a sweep. Then this should be, price should have bought from that low to go up. If you're looking at an upside down box pattern. Upside down box pattern. So that's a sweep. That's a shoulder there. Then that is a sweep. That's the sweep there. Then the upside. All the way to the upside, forming diagonal liquidity. So as price came back to that level, it's supposed to buy from there. So that's why you now see the battle between buyers and sellers. As that breaks forcefully below that upside down box pattern, that's a box failure. And so we know that rather price will continue to move down. I told you about box pattern and box failure. So at the point that there was a failure of that, you know, oh, this can now be my entry to sell. And if you check that on the lower time frame, you will see that there were gaps, there was 50% and that place where there was a battle. Okay. Gaps, 50% encroachment, box pattern right there. So you see the break lower, you see the break lower, you see a return into that fair value gap. That's a shoulder, that's a sweep, that's a break of structure to the downside. So the thing at top that we marked, it didn't happen. Rather, it came down and happened structure to the downside. That's the sweep, that's a return, and then from there one can take it. The pullback into the fair value gap at 172.30. We saw it at 172. Gap there, that's a flip zone. So price, exactly, that's a fair value gap there. That's a flip zone. Price tapped in. You can see the clear rejection. Zoom in, please. The element there. The red shoulder there. You can see the sweep which enters into a fair value gap. Zone where previous support, look at the support element. Let's mark that low. There is a support. Previous support. Not there, the one before it, not even that one. The one close to the left of this close to the left of the screen. Exactly there. Those two double, yes, that's support there. That's a flip zone. A flip zone is where previous support gets broken, and then it flips and becomes resistance. Demola, not even there. I'm talking of the equal lows around 172.20. The equal lows around 172.20. 172.20. The equal lows at 172.20. Exactly. Exactly. Those lows. Those are areas of that's a support. That's a support there. So what do you now see? Remember box strategy. So that's a support that was broken with force, formed a fair value gap. Price now formed a shoulder, came back, tapped into that flip zone, right? And then formed another fair value gap and broke down again. And then price returned into that fair value gap. From that point, that's where you can take your sell. So that's an entry point, because you can be right on direction and not be able to locate your entry. All you have to look for is those signature moves, the elements of a move. What are those elements, or what are those factors? Number one, you must be able to see a clear shoulder, a clear shoulder. Number two, you must be able to see a sweep of that shoulder. That left shoulder must be cleared. Price must break above it and break back below it very fast. And preferably, you now want to see a fair value gap formed after that sweep. And that fair value gap, it must keep going until it breaks structure to the downside if you are selling. And then when it breaks structure to the downside, you mark it. There must be a return to that fair value gap, 50%. There must be an inducement that was taken, twin tower support or resistance, and then price must come down. This is a very simple understanding. So let's do the schematic again for people to understand. You can draw it now, not on the chart. Let's draw our shoulder, our left shoulder, a previous high. Our left shoulder, a previous high. No, as in, not, okay, yes, that's a shoulder. I'm even saying outside of the chart. Just draw it as a schematic so that people understand what they are looking out for. Just draw it as a scheme. Exactly. Our left shoulder, that's a shoulder, which is a previous high. Our sweep, where price goes to break that shoulder. Price goes to clear that shoulder to the upside and return with force, forming a fair value gap. Forming a fair value gap. And then price returns to 50% of that fair value gap, and then comes all the way down. All the way down. All the way down. So what do you want to see? You want to see a shoulder, a previous level that was respected, a previous high that was respected. Then you want to see that high being broken, being taken out, being swept. So they hit above it, and then they bring it back down. They hit above it, and then bring it back down and break structure with force, forming a fair value gap. Then you want to see that fair value gap closing 50%. 50%. So price goes 50%. Exactly. Then price goes back. Now, this is one. Another possibility is price will still go back above that low that was created and go into the shoulder. That's another possibility. That's another possibility. Where price, so that Yes, so the sell off from there. Another schematic is price will now go and still sweep this place and use it as an inducement up into the shoulder before dropping down. All right, so that's exactly what we saw happen there. The break of structure to the downside forming a fair value gap, the return to that fair value gap, and price collapsing from there. The sweep, the break of structure to the downside, it makes another high, comes lower, then goes back into the shoulder before dropping down. So those are that you can see. But how you know that price will respect is you'll be seeing a shift, market structure shift, break of structure to the gaps being formed, violent fair value gaps being formed. And then you know that price will likely return. All right. So I hope this was helpful for someone. Of course, this also happens upside down left shoulder. If price grabs the liquidity of the head, that'd still be a failure. Let me understand. So there's a shoulder, there's a sweep, right? There's a shoulder there. I'm trying to understand your question. If price grabs the liquidity of the head but doesn't close above it, can that still be a failure? No. Liquidity sweep happens and price comes back into the range. That's not a failure. If price comes back into the range, you just mark the fair value gap that is formed and wait for price to go back there and come down. A failure is when the left shoulder is and the fair value gap that was formed, price closes above it. And then shoots up. What if our box pattern fails? Used yesterday. What do we do? Let's see the box pattern failure in XAU USD. Let's look at real. That's the box pattern that failed, right? That's it. I said that if price grabs the liquidity, let's zoom in. Okay. All right. So that's our left shoulder. That's our sweep of liquidity sweep, right? That's our break of structure to the downside. Please remove those schematics so that we can see clearly. Then look at our fair value gap. Remember I said that if price goes with force, so let's look at our fair value gap after that order block, that stopper shocker. Break of structure to the downside. No, don't mark that. Don't mark that low. Don't. Okay, well, you've marked, it's fine. What I'm talking about is we're talking about when price returns to the shoulder where it is supposed to start coming back down. That formation of stopper shocker, sell, shocker, sell, candle number 1, candle number 2, candle number 3. Right? And where it closed. Yes, that's our shoulder. That's where price is supposed to respect and sell off from. Now, look where I would have started having issues is when price returned into that place, it's not supposed to use force to break above it because there are sell orders there. So look at the fair value gap. The fair doji. The fair value gap closed above that doji, the red doji. That's the first indicator that there's a problem. Now, after that, the second fair value gap closed above the shoulder and the sweep. That's a box failure. So you can see that it formed a fair value, that stopper, that small doji. Then it also now formed another fair value gap that cleared all the liquidity. Immediately this happens, right? There are two things involved. Immediately this happens. That form, is that statement correct? It becomes a new shoulder. And if it becomes a new shoulder, that high that was broken by the fair value gap, shoulder. Now, if that becomes a new shoulder, moving up, it can be a sweep. But we now see that when it got back to the new shoulder, mark the shoulder. Exactly. Exactly. So, as price was going, as price breaks above that high, it can be the start of a sweep. But when it's supposed to come back and sweep, to come back into the, it formed twin tower support. So as that twin tower support is formed there, I already know there are twin tower support. And I'm like, no, this thing, price has gone. Point where there's twin tower support, as price comes back and closes. So the first thing that gave me cause for concern is that stopper shocker that was broken. Cause for concern are those fair value gaps that keep closing higher, showing that there is serious zone where a previous resistance was turned into support. So at that point, one, place your stop below that stopper shocker because price is not supposed to go back there. Has this box failure? So when you see box failure, you are looking out for places that should not be broken. The left shoulder, the stopper shocker, and then you are looking out for fair value gaps and where they close, where that candle closes. The liquidity levels of the shoulder and the sweep, just no price will continue to go. And for this one, you now do a quick sentiment that are supporting that move. All right, so one last person says XAU USD has formed a box pattern to buy today. Yes, it has. Yes, there's been a sweep, there's been a push below, there's been a push below, but this candle that is coming with force now, I'm looking, if this candle closes below the sweep, below the sweep and below the shoulder with force, then you know that that pattern may not hold. And then you see there's a box pattern to sell. That's a shoulder, that's a sweep, that's a return. No, this is more of a sell. I'll be very skeptical about any buy. I'll be very skeptical. See the shoulder, see the sweep, see the break of structure to the downside, see the return to the 50% Fibonacci, and price is going down. Now there's a box pattern at the base, but if this price closes below that shoulder and that sweep, know that it's going to keep coming down. So it will just return back into that fair value gap and continue the move to the downside. So if this guy closes below, that's the upside down shoulder there. that's the sweep there. If it closes below with force, this fair value gap, if it closes below 2385 with force, just plot your 50% retracement, 2385 levels, 2385. If it closes below it with force, just plot your 50% fib and wait for price to go back into it. It's going to come down. Then, of course, you check dollar index. If dollar index is going up, that supports it. We've done, I'm talking buy around 2362. Okay. I get your point. 2362 below. Okay. All right, then. So please, let's understand the box pattern. Let's understand the concepts of liquidity, where the sellers are, where the buyers are, how they get consumed using fair value gaps, and then the retracements, and then combining that with sentiment analysis. If there are no more questions, I hand it over to Demola. Please, I want to personally invite you once again to this event. If you have suggestions on how we can publicize it to get as many people as possible to come, please let us know. And please spread the word. Let people know we're planning to make it as interactive. It's a training. It's not a conference. It's a training. It's not an inspirational conference. It's a training. There's going to be a lot of interaction. There's going to be a lot of asking of questions. People are going to be revealing their scars, their frustrations, different things, please. So please endeavor to be around. Thank you so much. Those of you who will be doing the paid session, please, you can start making your early bird payments so that we can start planning and preparing for you. There are 6 sessions in all. 1 is a paid session. Thank you very much, everyone. And God bless.
Thank you, sir. All right, guys. We'll be convening at 3 p.m. for our New York market color analysis, where we just check what the market has done. Like our boss have rightly said, if you're invited, ensure you avail yourself that day. Don't miss it for any reason. Ensure you're available for that session. All right, guys, we'll meet 3 p.m. Cheers and God bless.